Okay, question 21. Of the following four types of saving account plans, which option will yield exponential growth of the money in the account? Okay. A says each successive year, 2% of the initial saving is added to the value of the account. B, each successive year, 1.5% of the initial savings and $100 is added to the value of the account. C, each successive year, 1% of the current value is added to the value of the account. Or D, each successive year, $100 is added to the value of the account. Okay, so we want exponential growth. Okay, so I have to differentiate the difference between linear growth versus exponential. Okay, so if you have like a linear growth, right? So for linear growth, it's always adding the same number. Okay, so linear growth is when we add the same number. Okay, adding the same number. Okay, and if we're gonna graph it graphically, it will be like it'll be a straight line. Okay, it'll be increasing like a straight line. But if you have exponential growth, okay, exponential growth, we're always multiplying by a certain number. Okay, multiplying by a number, no matter how big or small the number is. Right? If we're multiplying by a number, we have exponential growth. Okay, so each year we're multiplying by the same factor or same percent, right? Is gonna give us this kind of curve. Oops, it'll be like a curve going upward like that. Okay, rather than a straight line. So this will be exponential growth. Okay, so if you want exponential growth, what we're looking for here is we had to multiply by a multiplier. Okay, and usually if they say it's growing at a percentage, right, that should be exponential growth. But then we have to be a little bit more careful with this question. If you look at A, right, A says that 2% of the initial saving is added to the value account. So that 2% seems like it's growing by 2% each time, right? So we have to multiply by, it's growing by 2%, we actually multiply by 1.02 because it's 2% increase from the original 100%. Okay, it'll be like a 1 plus 0.02. Right, it's 1.02, but then this is actually not the answer because it's not 2% of the all the money in the account, right? It's 2% of what? 2% of the initial saving, right? And the initial saving, whatever that is, right, it's gonna be a fixed number. Right? Initial saving, that's how much money we're putting into the account at the beginning. So let's say if that's like $100, then 2% of that will be like $2 each time, right? Although it's a percentage, but since the initial saving never change, it's always the same number, right? So then 2% of that will always be the same number. Okay, so here we're actually adding the same number each time. Okay, so it's not multiplying by a percentage, right? Because 2% initial saving is actually a fixed number. Okay, so it's actually not A. So this is a little bit tricky. Okay, so the thing about B, B says 1.5% initial savings. So similar to A, right? This part is a constant amount. No matter how big or small it is, it's still the fixed number each time, right? And then we add another at 100, again, that's the same number, right? It's a fixed number. So that will be like a linear growth. Okay, so not exponential. C says each successive year, 1% of the current value is added to the account. So this is the exponential growth because it's 1% increase each time, and then it's 1% of the current value. So over time, as the value increases, 1% of that will also get bigger and bigger. Okay, so it's not the same number that we're adding each time. Okay, so this is like a multiplier. So each time we're multiplying by 1.01 because it's an increase of 1%. Okay, so this will get bigger and bigger over time, and this will give us exponential growth, which is letter C. Okay, and D should be linear because we're just adding 100 is the same amount each time, so that's not it. Okay, so for question 21, Our final answer is actually letter C for this one.